Hello everybody, welcome to Into the Video Maker 2004. In today's video I'm going to show you guys my completed Thomas Friends VHS collection. And speaking of Thomas Friends, it's celebrating 80 years, so happy 80th anniversary Thomas Friends. Without further ado, let's begin. So first up, Thomas and Gordon. Next up, Troublesome Trucks. Next up, Coal. Next up, Thomas, Percy and the Coal. Next up, Percy and Harold. Next up, The Deputation. Next up, Time for Trouble. Next up, Trust Thomas. Next up, Escape. Next up, Thomas and Stepney. Next up, Rock and Roll. Next up, Thomas and the Special Letter. Next up, Story and Song Collection, 5 sing-along songs. Next up, Playtime. Next up with Spooks and Surprises. Next up, The Biggest Ever Christmas Collection. Next up with Happy Ever After. Next up, Happy Holidays. Next up with Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Here's the tape. Next up, Truckloads of Fun. Next up, Rescues on the Railway. Next up, All Aboard October. Next up, Thomas and the Jet Engine. Next up, Twin Trouble. Next up, All Aboard. Next up, The Very Best of Thomas and Friends. Next up with Engines to the Rescue. Next up with All Aboard with the Steam Team. And finally, last but not least, Pee Pee Parade, 3 cheers for Thomas. Now, before we wrap up today's video, this video is also dedicated to Britt Allcraft, who has sadly passed away last year on December 5th, 2024, who has brought so much to our hearts. And yes, so thanks for everything, Britt Allcraft. So thank you for everything, Britt Allcraft. So that's all I have time for, folks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.